I'd rather be rich than be broke as fuck. Baby girl, you already know what's in my car.
I'd say great and so interesting, yet also kind of hindering to this industry is like you have the potential to do so many different things, and it's like and the kids, like everybody sees all the potential of what they can do, and so it's like they have an issue kind of like zoning in and focusing on what they want to do, right? And so it's like oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and I'm having that exact same issue because it's like everything's so tied together, but it's like, what do I actually want to focus on, like push first and then kind of work on later, you know?
Yeah, you have so many avenues and your mind just starts getting rolling on all these different ideas that you can incorporate into your work. It kind of gets congested sometimes, so I kind of see where you're coming from with that.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, and so with like Kalos in itself, I've had this idea for 4 or 5 years. So it was like June of 2013. I was in St. George with some friends, and we were playing around. Like, someone was like, "I want to start a clothing brand." And everyone's always been like, "I want to have a clothing brand," but not a lot of people take it seriously, or they don't take that next step to kind of like make it happen. And so I was just kind of like, okay, like whatever. We're hanging out at the pool. Like I have my iPhone. I'll just do some research. And so I was playing on Google Translate, trying to find different names, trying to figure out like, where could you get t-shirts? How do you print? Like, what are you doing? All these different things. And I think it was June 23rd to be exact, but I put in good into, okay. So Ruka stands for clothing in Greek, and I learned that while I was with these people in St. George. And so with that, I was like, okay, what if we just play with different languages and kind of like figure out what sounds cool? Because that was always my issue, is like, I need a logo, I need a name, and then from there I can make any clothing. But it's like, I typed in, I can't even remember, I typed in so many different things into Google Translate and so many different languages, but nothing like clicked. And so I typed in good, and I was like, Ruka, Greek, clothing, whatever, let's try Greek. And so I did good in Greek, and it came out as Kalos. And I was like, I screenshotted that, and I still have it on my phone from, back in 2013, but it was like, that was kind of like what kind of got the ball rolling with like, okay, I have my first piece of the puzzle, and then, okay, what's next? The logo. And so I just did some networking, and I was able to find a graphic designer that actually was in India, and he made the first Kalos logo. But from there, we didn't really do much with it. Okay, so we have our name, we have our logo, and it's like, now what do we do? And so from there, it was kind of just like building up like a social media presence, trying to get a name out there, being like, okay, this is what we want to do. We're not doing it yet, but it's like, just be ready for it, kind of like wait for it, kind of like whatever. So a lot of people don't know this, and we did it for a very brief time. I want to say back in March of 2017, but we were selling turtle necklaces. And basically what it came from I was on Twitter. I mean, I love Twitter. I've been doing Twitter for the last 7-8 years. But there was a lot of companies, and there was a lot of Twitter pages that they would sell bracelets, or they would sell necklaces, they would sell t-shirts, and they would say 10% of these donations, or 10% of these net profits are donated to an animal reserve. And I'm like, okay, you have 500,000 followers, okay, you get favorites, you get retweets, whatever, you get sales, because I see through your Spotify website plugins that people are buying, whatever, but it's like, how much of that money is actually being donated to these causes or to these organizations that you're saying you are, like, right? Are you just pocketing the money? And then on top of that, it's like, okay, you're only doing 10%. So it's like, how much is that actually helping? But I mean, any money is going to help and benefit in some sort of way, but it's like, maybe you're doing your percentage just low enough, so it's like, it goes under the radar where you just take the profit. And I found maybe there was probably 5 to 10 different accounts that did between the jewelry, the clothing, whatever. And it was always interesting to find the personal account of the person who ran that account, and kind of just seeing who they were, how they did things, everything like that. Because their business model, what all of these companies were doing was is a business model called drop shipping. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But basically what it is, the idea is you get a manufacturer, you get a company or something that's going to make and do all of your products for you. And then you set up that relationship with them. Somebody on your website is going to make an order, and then they ship that order to the customer. You literally do not touch the product at all. And so, and they package it for you, they do it. And that's what a lot of these companies do. And so it's like, I know the money's coming in, you never touch your product, and so it's like, it's always interesting. And that's why a lot of them would have brand reps and brand ambassadors and things like that, because it was like, they're not touching their product, but if they can send a product to somebody to rep it, then it's going to go from there, right?
Yeah.
So it helps.
That's like advertisement.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Advertisement to save you less money without having to worry about sitting on inventory, if you will. So there was that part of the puzzle, and so I was like, okay, like that's when I kind of got into the necklace kind of thing, because I was like, okay, so I can get a necklace manufacturer, and then I would always wear a jade turtle necklace that I got from like an Indian reservation when I was 11 in Arizona. And so I was like, this is something that people have always like complimented me on. They've always seen, but I've never seen anybody else with like a similar turtle necklace. And so I'm doing all this research. I'm trying to find out like different manufacturers and different things like that. And so I would say maybe for 3 to 6 months, we kind of just try to push these necklaces and just to kind of see what would happen. And we sold maybe 3 or 4 of them, but the idea with it from that was like, okay, we're going to do these necklaces, we're going to kind of figure out how to market, how to advertise, how to maybe gain some sort of following, and then we'll make that transition into clothing once we already have those people underneath us. Because it's like, I'm more than happy to spend X amount of dollars buying inventory, but it's like, if it's not going to, if I don't know if it's going to sell or not, then like, what's the point? And then I wanted to tie it back into Utah as well, and so it was like, Utah's done a really good job of helping or making a very big dent in homelessness. And so you have the statistic of Utah's ended 90% of homelessness, and you hear that all over the place. But my question was, of the 100% of people that are homeless, how many of those people started at a young age? How many started at 14, 15, 16? How many were actually kicked out at the age of 18 by their parents? How many people tried to move out with their friends when they were 20, 21, 22, and then they, maybe had a friend bail on them or something came up, and they just weren't able to get out of the hole that they've kind of been born into or put themselves, like, whatever it was. And so with that, I started doing research into what type of resources youth homeless had in Utah. And it was interesting at the time because you had, let's say you have your 3 biggest counties, right? You have Davis County, you have Salt Lake County, and then you have Utah County. In each of those counties, you have one youth homeless shelter, but the one in Salt Lake City and the one in Utah County were both Monday through Saturday, like 8, 9 a.m. to 5, 6 p.m. shelters. So you could go there, you could get breakfast, you could get lunch, you could get dinner, but after that, like, you have
nowhere else to sleep. You have to find somewhere.
Exactly. And so you're back right out on the street, and luckily there was one in Davis County. It was I always forget if it's Ogden or Bountiful, but they had 14 beds, right? And so I'm like, okay, you have only 14 beds for these people, and then after that, it's like, the rest are just going to go back out on the street. So it's the exact same problem that you have with all of the other youth homeless shelters. And so it was like, I have all these pieces. So it's like, okay, so you have these Twitter accounts that are somewhat successful in selling product to people because of them wanting to donate to a cause. And then you have Utah that's already has a passion, if you will, for kind of wanting to help others in the community and try to help them, with homelessness and everything like that. And then I have my name and my logo, and so I was like, okay, let's combine all this together and kind of get going. So with the homeless thing, I met with the director of Volunteers of America's Youth Homeless Shelter at the time. I met with the director of the VOA and just kind of figuring out what resources they had and what they were offering the kids. And at the point in time, like I said, in Salt Lake City, they were open, 8 or 9 a.m. to about 5:36 p.m. Luckily, in June of 2016, they were able to open up their new facility. And so a couple years back, maybe 2013, 2014, they received a $6 million grant, $6.6 million grant from the state of Utah to build this new shelter. And I want to say the number's 48. I think the numbers are more like 30. But they now have 30 beds. It's a 24-hour shelter. And so
big upgrade.
Exactly. And so it gave so many more resources to the people that are needing help or that are in that organization, so that they can reach out and help these people that are in need. And so luckily I kind of came in a time where it was in that transition period, so I was able to see the both sides of things. But it was like, okay, so now you have 30 beds, and let's say you have 100 people in the winter, right? It's snowing outside. You have to turn away 70 of those 100 people because you don't have room for them to stay. And so with that, my idea was like, okay, I want to make quality clothing, and because of Utah's weather changing so much, I could make clothing that essentially that you could survive outside in, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's raining, snowing, windy, whatever it is, but it's like clothing that you could sleep outside in if you can't stay in the shelter or something like that, because
you'll at least be able to fight off an eye.
Exactly, because I think of brands like Patagonia and North Face. It's like they make clothing like outerwear clothing,
weatherproof,
and it's perfect. And so if I could do something like that, but then have a streetwear twist on it, because it's like a lot of these kids, they're not going to be able to afford the quality, or I'm not even going to be able to afford the quality of a North Face or a Patagonia jacket because of all of the designers and the science that goes into the different materials and everything like that. And so what materials or what textile materials can I get to do something like that, or start making these items? And so with that, I was like, okay, I can make streetwear clothing and sell it and then donate 50%, and then let's say whatever doesn't sell, it's still going to be quality clothing. I can donate it to this homeless shelter, and these kids are going to have more normal clothing that they can wear. And so it's not like, oh, like this kid's homeless, or like, oh, this kid looks like he hasn't washed his clothes in 2 weeks or whatever. Like, it would just give them maybe like a fresher sense of style, whatever it is. Because
maybe even a little boost of confidence too.
Exactly. And I mean, we're transitioning the type of clothing that we do, right? Because we've done t-shirts, long sleeve, the hoodies, all the basic like streetwear. But I want to get more into some of the not higher end fashion, but some of like the button up shirts and some ties and slacks, things like that. Because then it's like, I can donate these clothes to these homeless shelters, and they can wear those clothes to job interviews and things like that. Because it's like, these kids are still young, they have their whole life ahead of them, but it's like they just need that chance to grow and expand.
Not everybody gets a shot, or not everybody is able to see the shot when it's in front of them. And if you're to do that, if you're to create interview clothes, like donated, it'd be a big change in somebody's life out there.
In your actions and being genuine in your communication, in your idea with them. So it's like, if I find an artist that I really like, that I've never talked to, we don't have any sort of relationship, we don't have any mutual friends or anything like that, like, I'm going to be very genuine, I'm going to reach out, I'm going to compliment their work, and maybe it's not going to happen on the first time, and the second time, the third time, or anything like that, but eventually, like, they're going to take notice of that I actually like their work, that I actually care, and that I'm actually paying attention. And so
do you feel like you get a little bit more success by creating that symbiotic relationship with networking?
I would say so. Honestly, Kalos would not be where it is today if it wasn't for, I would say, my persistent reaching out to Christian Burgers, to Banky, when we did our, the Banky times Kalos pop-up shop in June. There was one morning I was getting ready for work or something, it was like in December, and he did a digital image of Talmadge or something like that. And I was like, I've never seen artwork like this. And so with that, I was just like, I just messaged him. I was like, yo, like, this is amazing. Like, how much it cost, whatever. Because like, a lot of artists, one, it's like, they don't want to be scammed. They want to be paid because they put a lot of work and time into this. And so it's like, you'd be rewarded for your efforts and like whatever you do. And so we were talking prices, we were talking different things like this. And I was like, look, I'm doing this with clothing, doing all that. And somehow for me, complimenting a self-portrait of Talmadge or of some person trying to get like a price to get one for myself, we met up and we started talking about doing this collab for clothing, because I had already, at that point, I think I had done 2 or 3 orders of clothing and I was just getting into it, but I didn't have necessarily like a graphic designer or anybody like that that could like make images. We were doing the logo, we were doing the different styles of clothing, the different colors, everything like that, but there wasn't anything unique or different about it.
It didn't have that pop.
Exactly. And so from there, like, he introduced me to so many new people from just the pop-up shop. Like, when we put together the pop-up shop, those were a majority of his friends. Like, I knew of them, or I knew some of them, or we had relationships before, but I would say half of them were people that I'd never met before, and we just kind of kicked it off because we had that one common interest. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people, they don't look for the common interest in people to try to connect with them. It's just, I'm gonna do my own thing. If somebody reaches out to me, maybe we'll see if we can do something, but it's not like looking to reach out to do with other people. They just want to stay in their lane, do their own thing. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with Salt Lake City in itself, small Lake City with Utah, is that everybody's in their own cliques. Nobody
is everywhere.
Yeah, you have 5-10 different groups of people of like maybe made up of 5 to 10 people that are different artists or producers, photographers, videographers, graphic designers, whatever. They have kind of a mini team, but it's like, and they're all doing their own little thing, and they all have their own twist of things. But it's like nobody's like kind of coming together, working together collectively to bring up Salt Lake City for what it is. And so that's why it's all kind of, it's just a broken puzzle piece scattered across the valley. Like that's what I think people need to start working towards, and like working on. It's like what everybody in the scene right now, it's the original, they're the OGs of Salt Lake City of Utah. 5-10 years, it's gonna be completely different because you're gonna have businessmen moving in and out every couple of years with their families, and it's like they're gonna pick and take from the culture, but it's like nothing's being built to establish our name as itself. And so that's why I want to take the opposite approach as most people and brand Salt Lake City as the lake or as whatever it is, because 5-10 years down the road, everybody's going to know what this state has to offer. I'm in talks right now with some videographer guy that lives out in LA. You know, he has like 1,000 followers, follows like 50 people or whatever, but he wants to come out here to Salt Lake City, and he wants to shoot a video about the culture here, because people are starting to realize like what this place has to offer. It's always been branded as like an LDS or a Mormon state or different things like that, but people are starting to see the diversity and the creativity and the technology and all of the different things that are coming out of it, and they want to be a part of it. But it's like, if we aren't branding it correctly now, it's going to be taken from somebody that wasn't born here, hasn't been here, like doesn't know the state. And so
they're just gonna see it, take it over.
I remember back in high school and middle school when Flesh Wounds was the only hip hop rap group in the state of Utah that I could think of or knew of. That was a local group, and I want to say that they kind of set the pace. I'm pretty sure one of the people that was part of Flesh Wounds is now the owner of the Sky Bar in Salt Lake City. But it's like they took the culture and they were the ones that were pushing it. But now as you have people, I mean, you're having events, let's say every other weekend or once a month, you have these events in Salt Lake City, and you're starting to have more in Utah County, and you have all these people from northern Utah that are kind of branching out. It's all kind of coming together, and people are like just putting their souls together. And so I think the industry is starting to move in the correct direction if it continues the way that it does. Because as soon as people start trying to make things their own or not being willing to help out others, it's just going to go back to what it was, and it's going to be like you're going to have one person that maybe makes it out of Salt Lake City through a modeling agency or through some make or break it thing, but you're not going to have the city known for what we do.
Once that person leaves, their legacy, their addition to the culture is going to leave with them.
Exactly.
They don't have any like remnants to leave behind.
Exactly. So, for Kalos' kind of next move, we were planning to do kind of like a pop-up shop every 6 months or every 3 months, and obviously that's a little tough to do and manage right now, but right now it's just trying to collab with as many local Utah artists as we possibly can. And so I'm taking over management for Young Rue, for Acid Crusader. I originally thought he was a photographer, but it turns out he's been doing hip hop for the last minute, and working with him, kind of trying to get his visuals and kind of get his name known, and then doing clothing collabs with like Ben Sang, because he makes amazing artwork. It's like you're not like, I want to see that artwork on a t-shirt or on clothing, because not everybody is going to be able to buy that original piece of artwork. Doing more collabs with Banky, with Christian Burgess, because I don't think there's been an event like the Banky times Kalos pop-up shop that we did, because of how not how connected, but like how many different types of people we were able to bring together to kind of, there hasn't been that diversity for a show before. It's like, this group has these fans, and these fans are going to this show, but you're not going to have this group of people coming to this pop-up shop because they don't know anybody. And so it's like, when you mix all of those people together, it's just going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we've got we have a collab with Gold Blood coming as well. So we're doing a collab with them. I mean, luckily, gratefully, like they were willing to let us put clothing in their shop, and so I'm very excited for that. We have a couple pieces on the way with that. The collection, The Lake, that we're working on, I can't say I know when that's going to drop just because we're working on these other collabs first, but like our pop-up shop in June, we did the Snapchat filter for it, and it was welcome to the lake. And it was kind of just getting people kind of aware of the idea of like, this is actually happening, like we're actually moving in this direction, we want to make it something. And so we're going to follow up with the lake and kind of just, so people know what this is and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Be consistent with it.